Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. It is time, a little bit late, to talk about my books that I read in the month of May. It's kind of crazy that we're already a week into June, but this is the time that I had, and so here we are. I'm going to talk about the 16 books that I read in the month of May. I did have quite a few vlogs and different videos out where I've already talked about some of these, so it won't take too long to go through all of these, but I'm going to start with the 5 books that I read for a specific reason, and then I'm going to do the 5 books that I read on my Kindle. 5? What? In 1 month? And then I'll talk about all the rest that happened this month for a variety of reasons. But let's go ahead and start with my Patreon book club book and my Patreon pick. So this month, my Patreon read together More or Less Maddie by Lisa Genova. I really love Lisa Genova. She is a neuroscientist and an author, and all of her books deal with a different brain abnormality or disease. In this book, she tackles bipolar syndrome? Disease? I don't know. In our book, we follow Maddie, who is a young lady, 20s something, who is diagnosed with bipolar syndrome. Now I'm confused about if it's syndrome or not. Anyways, Maddie really struggles, and the way that her manic and depressive states are described in here was so visceral. Like, it was so real and brought up a lot of emotions in me, having known other people who have dealt with different aspects of not bipolar in particular, but the self-harm and the depression. And then the opposite of that when she was manic and what triggered those things. Maddie herself has discovered stand-up comedy and really wants to be a stand-up comedian. However, part of that is connected to one of her triggers that puts her into a manic state. And so how she manages that is all described in here, and how it affects different family members, a sister and her mom in particular. It just felt so real. It was hard. The language wasn't my favorite, and it wasn't a very lighthearted read. It was heavy. It was really heavy. It gave me a lot of understanding and even compassion for those who have to walk through something similar to this. And I just love Lisa Genova for that, and I gave this one 4 stars. Then my Patreon pick was something that I was very thrilled to have because it is the sequel to a book that I loved last year. This one was Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This one was gifted to me, so it also works on that goal of reading all of my gifted books. And I just had such a good time again with Vera Wong. I think I do like the first one a tiny bit better than this one. But again, we're dealing with a bit of a mystery, and Vera being a nosy busybody, getting in everybody's business, a little bit more of a found family as Vera gets involved with different people's lives. And there is a missing guy that Vera is determined to help figure out what happened to him. It's just a lot of fun. More laugh out loud moments. I absolutely enjoyed this one, and I gave it 4 stars as well. I did another Christian nonfiction read along throughout the month of May, and together with Chloe from Always Booked, we had a live on Sunday afternoons discussing Whisper by Mark Batterson. This is about how to hear the voice of God, and Mark goes through 7 different avenues that God uses to speak to us, mainly through scripture. And that's the one thing that I really loved about this book, is that he constantly is pointing you back to scripture, even in talking about all of these other things like dreams and desires and pain and other people and the ways that God can use those things to speak to us. He always points it back to scripture. And if anything that you think you're hearing from the Lord contradicts scripture, then it's not God, because God will not contradict himself. So I really did appreciate that. I found this to be practical and easy to get into, and a lot of quotes in there, a lot of things to make you stop and think. I really enjoyed reading this one, and I also gave this one 4 stars. I should stop saying what I give books, because almost always it's 4 stars. But yeah, I really did enjoy this, and I loved going through it with Chloe and having those live discussions with many of you in the comments. But yeah, this was a really good one. Middle Grade March also had our quarterly book club in the month of May, and we read Leave It at Last together by Sarah Pennypacker. And this one is a really delightful middle grade. It's a little bit over the top, almost a caricature of different scenarios. It very much had vibes of Matilda by Roald Dahl. It's not a retelling, it's not the same story, but there are definitely elements that are similar in the two stories. Horrible parents, the love of books being something that really helps Leva, our main character. So basically we follow Leva, who has been stuck at home. Her parents don't really let her leave the house. She is required to give them food and prepare their food and clean up after them. And they have zero love for her whatsoever. But she kind of sneaks out one day, and her big question is, what are people for? And she wants to discover, what's the use of people? Why are people necessary in our lives? And in the process encounters, she lives right near a library. And so the librarian and her assistant, her nephew assistant, really help Leva and befriend her. And the love of books is all the way throughout this story. And Leva is sent on these different little adventures because the librarian is determined to make every different kind of cookie that she knows of, that she can learn about. And so Leva is sent out to get different ingredients, and in the process meets other kids in town who are also struggling to make friends and feeling a little bit on the outside of things as Leva is. It was a delight. It was a lot of fun. Is it my new favorite middle grade ever? No. But did I love it? And am I really glad I read it? Yep. And guess what I gave it? Yep, 4 stars. As always. And then the final one, I'm not going to tell you my rating, but I did read one of my 5-star predictions, All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. I will say that I did enjoy this. It's a bleak story. It is a pretty dark story and does talk a lot about obsession, and there's a serial killer on the loose. We follow 2 main characters, Patch and Saint. Loved their friendship at the beginning, but as the story went on, it got really more and more frustrating. But it was a compulsive, propulsive read, and I'm glad that I read it. I would be interested in reading more from him, and I will talk more about this in my 5-star prediction wrap-up that will hopefully come at the very beginning of July. We shall see. I have 2 more to read still. Let me go through quickly the 5 books that I read on my Kindle. I will put the pictures of them here. 3 of them I already talked about because I did do a NetGalley vlog. Every month I'm going to be doing a vlog where I read through some of my NetGalley books. And so the ones that I read for that are The Busybody Book Club by Freya Sampson. I've already talked about that one in depth. Loved it. Freya Sampson is quickly becoming a new favorite author of mine. I just really enjoyed this. Another bookish book, quirky characters with a bit of a mystery. I really enjoyed that one a lot. Then I also read Better Left Unsent by Leah Lewis, which was your worst nightmare, right? Our main character wrote emails, drafts to people to help process her thought process, or when she was angry at something, or she didn't want to say something out loud, write it in an email, but then never sent it. But then one day, all of these emails, there was about 100 of them that she had saved in her drafts folder, all of them got sent out. I've talked about this one as well a lot in that NetGalley vlog, which I will link down below, but it was another really good, interesting read, and it had a nice romance in there that I enjoyed. Then the 3rd book that I read for that NetGalley vlog was Once for Yes by Allie Millington. This is the same author who wrote Olivetti. This one I did not like quite as much as Olivetti. In Once for Yes, we have a sentient building and a family who has to move out of the building for reasons, and the building isn't thrilled about it. And we're dealing with one family in particular and one little girl in particular whose older sister had died. And I enjoyed this one as well because I like books that talk about grief in some way, but I was frustrated with the family in this one. But by the end, it was all okay. The other 2 NetGalley books that I read a short story by Frederick Bachman because I am trying to read his books to zero, and it was called The Answer Is No. And I just love Frederick Bachman. I get along with his writing style so well. I loved this. And this takes place in an apartment building, and a guy who's kind of a hermit. He doesn't really like to go out and about, doesn't like to get involved with other people. Because of the situation in this story, he gets wrapped up in this crazy situation. There's a piece of garbage that got left by the laundry room door, and it just builds up into this massive snowball of events. And it's funny, but also very poignant. Like, definitely gave me things to think about. Definitely had some sentences and quotes in there that were like, whoa, that was really good. But it was also quirky and ridiculous at times. Talked a lot about neighbors and being friends, and what does that mean, and what does it mean to open up yourself to other people and relationships. And it just was fantastic, and I loved it. The answer is no. And then finally, one that I will be talking about in my June NetGalley vlog, I read Everything's Coming Up Rosie by Courtney Walsh. So I won't talk about it loads here, but in it we follow Rosie, who is a struggling actress in New York, comes home for a vacation one time, but in the process, right before, she had sent out all of these email resume applications for multiple jobs all over, gets approved for one, ends up in this retirement community in Wisconsin, I believe is where it takes place. And she didn't realize when she first got there that it was a retirement community, which is really kind of humorous. There was a lot of really funny parts to this, a lot of lovable characters, a romance that is kind of insta-lovey on both parts, but it doesn't start right away. But it ended up being really lovely. It's a very sweet romance. There's no steamy scenes or anything like that, but it just was a lovely read, which I will talk about more in the next NetGalley vlog coming out later in June, which means I need to get working on that as well. But I still have a handful of books to talk about. Oh my. I am still trying to challenge myself to read about 10 pages or 10 minutes of nonfiction every day. So one nonfiction that I had been working on that I did end up finishing in May was The Secret Lives of Booksellers and Librarians, True Stories of the Magic of Reading by James Patterson and Matt Eversman. This is simply a collection of different stories from booksellers and librarians talking about the love of books, talking about the love of book selling and being in conversation with other readers, the benefits of having libraries and bookstores, and what are some specific stories from their lives as librarians and booksellers. And it just was a delight, like a book for book lovers for sure. Each little essay stood completely on its own, and so you could read it story by story if you wanted to. I got to a point where I just wanted to finish, so I read through a whole bunch of them at once. But it was just really lovely. And as somebody who does love books and does love reading and does love my library and does love going to bookstores, I just felt very connected to this story and also commiserate with all of these benefits to books and reading and the love of reading. And yeah, it just was a delight to read. A delight. I have two that were on my TBR for the month. I've already talked about some that were on my TBR, but these ones I picked up because they were in my flip and roll TBR. One of them is Spectres in the Glass House by Jamie Jo Wright. This is a historical thriller mystery, and it takes place in the 1920s, and we follow a young woman who is now orphaned. She's an adult, so she's not an orphan, like struggling on her own, but she goes back to her family home, and there are ghosties about. This just had a little bit of everything in it. We have a murder mystery, we've got ghosts, so the paranormal, we've got mental illness, and we have a dual timeline. So we're in the 1920s, where we follow a young woman whose parents have both died, and she returns to her family home and discovers things are not quite as they seem there. And that's where the murders were happening. And is she related to them? Is she connected? Are the ghosts causing the murders? Like, what's going on? And then we have a more present day timeline with the great grandson, I think, of one of the women who was murdered, and a researcher, Remy, and an elder biographer's quest to kind of uncover the truth of all of this story. So how it all comes together. It was not my favorite Jamie Jo Wright, but it was very immersive when I was reading it. I was invested. I wanted to know what was going to happen next. It was a little bit creepy, but not too creepy. There was a faith element in this as well, but this is a Christian fiction, but I don't remember the faith element being very at the forefront. I can't remember, honestly. I read this earlier on, and we're like way into June. Lots of books have happened since then, but I do remember that I liked it. What did I give it? I think I gave it 4 stars. Surprise, surprise. Earlier on in the month, I also read Our Darkest Night by Jennifer Robson, another one of my flip and roll TBR picks. This one is a historical fiction set during World War II in Italy. We follow a young Austrian girl who her father helps her to escape out of Austria in the midst of the war in 1943. And in order to hide, she poses as the wife of a young Christian farmer, and a romance ensues between the two of them. But she is hiding on his farm in Italy, and she's a city girl now living on the farm, connecting with his family, learning the character of Niccolo, and her name was Antonina. Niccolo is just a really stand-up guy full of integrity and also involved in the resistance movement, and Nina finds herself getting involved as well, and it's just very World War II, set in Italy. It wasn't doing anything brand new that I feel like I haven't read before, but I really did enjoy it and loved it while I was reading it. Everyone say it together. How much did I give this one? 4 stars. A rando book that did not get 4 stars for me is The Messengers by Margaret Peterson Haddix. This was just kind of a random pickup at the end of the month. I had a little bit of extra time. I found it on Libby available, and it finishes up a series for me. I probably should have DNF'd the series after reading the second book because I really didn't care for the second book, and it was quite a while in between reading book 2 and now book 3. So I didn't fully get invested in this book ever, and I couldn't remember all that had gone on in the first 2 books. A lot of it did come back to me. We're still following a group of siblings and this alternate reality as well. They're just trying to save the world. But it really was just meh. It was really just okay for me. I think I gave it a weak 3 stars, but I have already unhauled the first one and I need to unhaul this one as well. Bummer, because I have really enjoyed Margaret Peterson Haddix in the past, but this one I liked the first book a lot. I don't know if it was a matter of waiting too long in between books to pick up the next one, or if I just didn't like the story as much. I don't know. I just didn't feel like the stakes were that high. I didn't feel like I cared at all. I didn't love the characters anymore. And so it just was not my favorite, but I finished a series and that's amazing. 2 other totally random books. I did pick up The Favorites by Lane Fargo. This is a super popular popcorn suspense, Wuthering Heights retelling on ice, basically. We follow these 2 ice dancers who have a very toxic relationship. And this is like watching reality TV almost, really, because there are also these elements of documentary style interviews with other people involved, but we really follow these 2 characters, these 2 main characters who have just a narcissistic, codependent, love for each other, but also they're very, very talented at what they do, but it just gets messy. It gets so messy in here. But I was like, give me the popcorn. I'm reading it. I was listening to it on audio, and I think I finished the whole thing in a day and a half, 2 days tops, because I just couldn't put it down. I couldn't put it down. I just had to know what was going to happen. I really loved the audiobook because there is a full cast narrative. All of those inner chapter podcasty documentary style interviews with other people were all done by different voices, which was really cool and added to the reality TV version. It felt like this could really happen, but it's also Wuthering Heights, which I really don't like because I don't like any of the characters. They're really messy. They're not likable. And that is what we have in here. Really messy, unlikable characters, but it's propulsive and you got to know what's going to happen. So I did read that. What did I rate it? I don't even know what I rated it. Guess what? 4 stars. I think when I don't even care, I think I just give books 4 stars regardless. Unless it's a new favorite, then it gets 5. The Answer is No by Frederick Bachman got 5 stars. Secret Lives of Booksellers and Librarian got 5 stars. And then the Margaret Peterson Haddix one only got 3. Once for Yes got 3. But when in doubt, 4 stars is I really liked this book, but it's not a new favorite. The final book that I read in the month of May, I talked about this in a couple different videos, and in the comments, many of you were like, that book is so good. I wish you would have picked that one. You need to pick that up soon. And because there were so many comments about it, it got me curious. So I went ahead and found the audiobook of The Second Life of Muriel West by Amanda Skinador. In this one, we follow Muriel West, who is wealthy. We're in the 1920s in LA. She's married to a movie star, silent movie star, and then it's discovered very early on that she has leprosy and cannot stay any longer where she is, and is sent to this leper colony commune in Louisiana. And so we follow her life there as she learns to adjust to life, a different kind of life. She has 2 young kids at home, 2 or 3 young kids at home, and is determined to get back to them. She's very kind of arrogant and too cool for school when she first gets there, like doesn't want to get involved in things and doesn't see herself on the same playing field as everyone else who's there, even though she very much is. But we really get to see her growth and her change as the story goes on, as she is there for longer and is determined now to help discover a cure, help find a cure, do what she can to help with that. It's very visceral. And by visceral, I just mean like, you just feel like you're there. There are some scenes that were a little bit almost gory, but just really like show the reality of what it is to have leprosy and what leprosy does to your physical body. And to your mind as well, and the struggles that she has, losing friends that she's made and adjusting to life in this leper colony. And will she ever get out? Will life be able to go back to what it was before? You don't really know that. You just have to read it to find out, actually, because you do learn what happens in here. But I was loving this one as well. I gave this one 4.5. Well, I just gave it 4 on Goodreads. It's probably more like a 4.5. It was fantastic. I really loved it. So you guys are right. This was a good one. All right. So here is my stack for May, along with the 5 books that I read on my Kindle, which I don't have physical copies of. I think it was such a good reading month. I had a lot of 4-star reads and a couple standout 5-star books. I think into my favorites basket, I'm going to put The Second Life of Mariel West is going to go in there, because we'll see how much that sticks with me. But right now, I think I really loved it. I'm also going to be putting this NonFiction, The Secret Lives of Booksellers and Librarians. And I think I might also put, I don't own it yet. I'm going to put this little post-it for The Answer is No by Frederick Bachman. And maybe also even the Busybody Book Club, because that one has stuck with me a little bit. We'll see at the end of the year what stays in my brain, but for now, those are the 4 going into the basket. So that is it for May. Thanks so much for watching. I'm sorry that this is a little bit late. I would love to chat with you in the comments below about any of these books that I talked about here today, or any of your favorite books that you read in the month of May, or anything else that you want to talk about. I always love chatting with you in the comments. And if you made it all the way to the end, but you don't really have anything you want to say, I would love for you to put a little butterfly. I don't know if you can see them. There's butterflies all over this cover, and so put a little butterfly emoji in the comments just to let me know that you were here watching and participating and supporting me in that way. I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for your time and support, and I'm so glad that you're here, and I look forward to chatting with you in another video very soon. Bye.